Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today in Warzone 2, we finally got our first sort of mini in-game content update since launch, which is nothing too crazy, but something to hold this over until next week, where obviously we have our first major update for Warzone 2 dropping with Season 1 Reloaded. We also just got some very interesting news regarding the future of Call of Duty with exclusivity, with Microsoft potentially taking over, and it's not necessarily the best news, all things considered. But first up, let's start with the brand new mini update now live in Warzone 2. So with this one, no major patch notes or anything too crazy. This one is based around the playlist though, for the first time since Warzone launch. Really, obviously, ever since Warzone dropped, we've had the same series of playlists since then. So today that finally ended up changing. Raven ended up tweeting out saying a new Warzone 2.0 playlist is now live, where they are adding in just standard battle royale trios. They're actually removing the third person trios, and then they're currently keeping the standard solos, duos, and quads for battle royale, then also unhinged for battle royale. So in general, now we have standard battle royale for all squad sizes, solos, duos, trios, and quads. So that's obviously 150 to 152 players. Quads has those extra 2 players in there for the even squads, of course. And then the only LTM mode technically is the unhinged trios, where you can actually go through and team up with up to 6 players per squad by using like the whole team up feature in game with the assimilation going on there. Then of course we also got the DMZ trios playlist still standard for that as well. So sort of a mini update with the playlist here today. Like I said though, this is really just to hold this over until the 14th / the 15th, when we have the major Season 1 Reloaded update dropping, and that's when we're going to see like the first major changes for Warzone 2. Unfortunately, up until now, we really haven't heard much of what the Season 1 Reloaded update is going to contain outside of the already revealed stuff back at the start of Season 1, with obviously the Chimera rifle and the raids mode that we actually talked about earlier today. So feel free to go check out that video if you haven't yet. That said, we should be getting some significant reveals here in the coming days for some of the gameplay changes, maybe some surprise content, because we do have quite a ways to go from Season 1 Reloaded all the way to Season 2 at the start of February. So hopefully we get some surprise content drops with maybe a couple of additional weapons, maybe a couple of new maps and multiplayer, and ideally a lot of new in-game gameplay updates for Warzone 2. Admittedly, that's what I'm expecting to see the most of when it comes to Season 1 Reloaded. I'm sure we'll probably see some sort of playlist update happen then. On the Trello board, it says that this current playlist update is only lasting until the 15th, so we'll have to wait and see what intel comes out on that. But really, I'm expecting a lot of gameplay updates, a lot of fixes for all the various bugs, hopefully some improvements and some quality of life updates that Warzone 2 seems to be missing as of right now. That's what I'm expecting to drop next week. And like I said, we should get some reveals for that here pretty soon. So once that stuff does surface, once we have some blog posts, some trailers to break down, any new intel, you guys know I got you covered ASAP when it drops. So if you want to stay up to date with that alongside everything else going on in COD between Warzone 2, MW2, and DMZ, this is the place to be. Feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. Also, if you guys enjoyed this video, let me know by dropping a like on it as well while we're at it. Let's try and aim for 2,500 likes on this one. Now, as I mentioned at the start of the video, today we got some very surprising and somewhat concerning news for the future of Call of Duty. As we've been talking about here recently, we know all about the Microsoft acquisition into Activision Blizzard. Microsoft is trying to purchase Activision Blizzard alongside all their various IPs. So things like Call of Duty, things like Candy Crush, World of Warcraft, all sorts of stuff like that, to basically expand them. They want to, bring more players to those franchises, but also own the Activision Blizzard publisher as a whole, which has had a decent amount of blowback, especially from competitors like Sony, claiming that, Microsoft wants to create a monopoly, despite the fact that Microsoft publicly has stated that they're basically trying to, expand these different franchises, especially Call of Duty, to various other platforms. They want to make it as widely available as possible, bringing it to Nintendo, allowing it to stay on PlayStation, on Xbox, on PC, basically so that they'd be available everywhere, right? Like, from my point of view, it seems like this would be a good thing going forward, but not everyone sees it like that, because today the United States FTC filed a lawsuit to block Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, and this is huge. This is going to, cause a lot of issues going forward. Charlie Intel made a really good point here, saying basically the biggest issue is how long the court process is going to take for this lawsuit to actually come to a conclusion. Microsoft and Activision Blizzard, when they first announced that they were trying to, do this merger and do this acquisition, had an end date of June 2023 to close this deal and finalize it and have everything done. If that does not happen by June of 2023, then everything basically has to restart, which would not go as smoothly as the first time around, most likely because you'd run into the same sort of roadblocks and hiccups along the way. So the fact that this is now, officially under a lawsuit is going to delay things. And if it gets delayed long enough, that is going to be quite the hindrance for this merger to actually take place. Now, the reason that this lawsuit is actually going through is because the FTC is arguing that Microsoft previously said when they purchased Bethesda that they weren't going to, make titles exclusive. And then they went ahead and made Bethesda titles exclusive to, Game Pass and Microsoft platforms. And that obviously was them going back on their word. However, this time around, it seems like Microsoft is a lot more adamant about willingly wanting to, expand these franchises, especially Call of Duty, for instance, and bring it to more gamers. That seems to be their end goal here. That's essentially what Microsoft is arguing. They ended up saying to The Verge, "We continue to believe that this deal will expand competition and create more opportunities for gamers and game developers. We've been committed since day one to addressing competition concerns, including by offering earlier this week proposed concessions to the FTC. While we believed in giving peace a chance, we have complete confidence in our case and welcome the opportunity to present it in court." So they're fully confident that even though this is going to court, they're going to be found in favor. They're going to say, it's all good that Microsoft is going to do this, that they're going to purchase Activision Blizzard because they're offering decade-long contracts to start, to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo, to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation and keep it widely available to everyone, regardless of what platform you're on, which again, for consumers, seems like it is going to be a good thing. Of course, Sony loses a lot of leverage if their direct competitor now owns the Call of Duty IP and various other Activision Blizzard IPs. But the fact that this lawsuit is now underway ultimately is bad news because it could end up stalling things to a point where we have to restart from ground zero, essentially, which would be less than ideal. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably wondering how exactly does this affect Call of Duty, and right now it really doesn't. Activision obviously still has all their plans, laid out for MW2 and Warzone 2 and DMZ through whenever they're going to come to a close. It basically just be, handed off to Microsoft, who then, has the opportunity to change things as they want, has the opportunity to potentially improve things, maybe hold things to a higher standard because they have, more available funding. They're a much larger program than just Activision themselves. So, Microsoft could encompass that and really, bring out the best in every COD game rather than, obviously in recent years, it feels like a lot of things have been rushed maybe to meet, criteria for sales quotas and stuff like that. But short term, it won't really make a lasting impact on Call of Duty right now. Like nothing I would imagine would change with MW2, Warzone 2, DMZ. But as we get closer to the launch of COD 2024 and beyond, that's where we might see more things actually be affected by this deal if it does or does not go through. So as we see any major updates with that, I'll be sure to keep you guys updated as needed. It's definitely something that is far above my level of knowledge when it comes to the legality of everything and all stuff going on behind the scenes. But as we get new intel, I'll be sure to drop in some bits and pieces of it in videos in the future. All that being said, though, that is effectively what ended up changing in today's new mini update for Warzone 2, and then also the new surprising news regarding the future of COD. That is going to wrap things up. If you guys enjoyed the video, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you're new here, feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications. That way you can always guarantee you're up to date with all things going on in COD. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.